Furthermore, we're going to be looking at Pepsi, who've just launched their new logo, I think, which is really iconic, coherent, and their best logo to date, perhaps the one in 2006 to 2008, for me was one of their preferred logos which they have created. If we just look through the heritage of Pepsi identities, right at the beginning in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they've tried to follow and emulate Coca-Cola all the way from the 1900s to 1950, where they introduced the color blue. But when they originated, it was as a medicine, so was Coca-Cola. Dr. Pemberton formulated Coca-Cola, and Pepsi was close behind in terms of a medicine that cured headaches, indigestion, etc., etc. They changed the formula in the early 1900s, but they stuck with a health theme all the way up until 1950. If you looked at how Pepsi originated, Coke was first. They had the Spencerian script. They tried to emulate Coca-Cola's font. Didn't do a very good job of it, as you can see below. It looked like a doctor's handwriting, to say the least, the original logos. Then they migrate all the way up until the 1950s, where they introduced the color blue. They try to distinguish themselves from Coca-Cola. They also moving away from cursive into uppercase description, and they move the word cola, they drop cola and call it Pepsi, and they keep that identity all the way up until 2006. With the blue and the uppercase and components of that, they start introducing the globe, and in 2006 they three-dimensionalize it, and I believe they created the gold standard for Pepsi was 2006 to 2008. They subsequently migrated to accommodate the modern platforms in terms of mobile devices, and I think they lost a little bit of their edginess and their appeal to the youth, and this is evident all the way up until their new logo, which they've just launched. And I think that's a very bold, coherent, and dynamic identity. How did they come about that? They reintroduced the Pepsi back into the globe. They moved it all back to uppercase. And how did they get to that inspiration? Well, they asked their customers, how would they Pepsi? And they all drew Pepsi back in terms of the globe, into the globe. And that gives you an idea how customers remember brands, the legacy issues of the brand. So they went to their customers and said, okay, how would you represent Pepsi? Boom, they all put Pepsi back in terms of the globe, the world globe, whatever the case is. And this is the new identity, which is bold, engaging, energetic, coherent, and also has a massive appeal to the youth. And I think they've really hit it out the ballpark with this new identity.